She doesn't deserve anything. The WNBA's criticism of Caitlin Clark has reached unprecedented heights after those remarks ignited a tempest in women's basketball, with several prominent figures publicly downplaying her significance.
Caitlin Clark has gotten some backlash from some parts of the Times article. And whether it be people that wanted to use her to push a narrative clapping back at her, or not even clapping back, just turning on her, or whether it be WNBA owners, in one regard, Renee Montgomery refusing to say anything positive about Caitlin, and then another one basically saying that Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve anything she gets.
However, everything changed when Olympic athlete Gabby Thomas and tennis legend Chris Evert entered the ring.
And we've now got, thankfully, some like big prominent athletes defending her.
Let's dive right into this crazy situation that has been developing in the world of women's basketball. If you have been following the sport lately, you are aware that Caitlin Clark has been making headlines left and right, but this time it's not about her amazing three-pointers or record-breaking performances. Rather, we're talking about something much more contentious. Why are these sports icons defending college basketball's most talked player? The answer may surprise you, and it's causing chaos in the women's sports world.
She asks Caitlin Clark about the comments I made, or the Twitter, or whatever, the tweet, and here's what happened.
Kelly, she was saying that you were apologizing for your white privilege and the fact that you wanted to uplift black female athletes and make sure that they were getting the shine, kind of like your pioneers were getting the shine that they deserved. And I just want to know how you feel or how you respond to some of those criticisms.
I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years. So I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important.
She's doing it again.
That's something I'm very aware of. I said, I feel like one of my best skills is just blocking things out. Like, I don't really, the only opinions I really care about are the people that I love.
That's actually smart, and she shouldn't be listening to her critics, but that's not going to stop those of us who have strong thoughts about her bending the knee from speaking out.
It all started with that Times article, the one where Clark opened up about her journey and impact on the sport. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, that's where things got complicated. The response from certain WNBA figures, let's just say it wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy. Take Renee Montgomery, for instance. When asked about Clark's impact on the game, she did everything but acknowledge it. It was like watching someone try to dodge raindrops in a thunderstorm. Pretty much impossible, but she sure tried, and she wasn't alone. We had WNBA owners coming out of the woodwork, and one of them really took things to another level. This owner, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically suggested that Clark's success and recognition had more to do with her race than her actual talent. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a player who's broken countless records, revolutionized the college game, and brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball, but apparently that's not enough for some people. But here's where things get interesting. Help came from some unexpected places just when it seemed like the criticism was getting out of control. When I say unexpected, I mean really unexpected. We're talking about legends from entirely different sports entering the ring to defend Clark. First up, for those of you who might not know, we're talking about an absolute tennis icon, Chris Evert. 18 Grand Slam victories, 3 titles at the end of the year. People listen to Chris Evert when she speaks on several records that are still in existence today. And wow, did she have something to say about this circumstance.
She's one of the greatest tennis players of all time. She is somebody who has almost been as successful in the sport as Serena Williams. And she's there basically saying Caitlin Clark deserves this award because of her talent and contributions both on and off the court.
It should have been clear to everyone that Clark's accomplishments and recognition were earned through her extraordinary talent and contributions both on and off the court, coming from someone who knows a thing or two about breaking barriers in women's sports. This wasn't just another voice in the crowd, it was validation from one of the greatest athletes of all time. However, the support didn't end there. Gabby Thomas, an Olympic medalist and another powerhouse in her own right, joined in.
You have got this, and I really like this response from Gabby Thomas, who is, again, she is an athlete who has spent time around Caitlin Clark, and she basically was calling out Riley Gaines, and this is Riley Gaines. No one was asking for Caitlin Clark to position herself as a right-wing hero. All she had to do was remain neutral.
Thomas wasn't having any of it when Riley Gaines claimed that Clark should have just stayed impartial. Her response was calculated and forceful, addressing 2 crucial issues that truly cut to the core of this dispute.
Gabby Thomas said, you don't just have to share your opinion on everything, just sit with it now. I don't really mind. That response is what it is. Caitlin Clark shouldn't need to apologize for being white, which is a comment. And I don't think she necessarily did that, but I can see how it read like that. And I will stand by that. Like, that was the first thing the way I read it initially. And Gabby Thomas says, agreed, nor should she apologize for acknowledging the POC, the people of color that came before her and play a significant role in building the league.
And first, Thomas made it clear that Clark shouldn't have to apologize for being who she is. For a moment, we've reached a point where some people seem to think that being successful while white is something to apologize for. Thomas called it out for what it was, but this is where Thomas truly demonstrated her understanding of the situation. She also defended Clark's right to acknowledge the players of color who helped build the league because, contrary to what some critics may want you to believe, these two things aren't mutually exclusive. Clark did just that. Let's discuss something fascinating that has been occurring, or, more accurately, not occurring. Have you noticed how quiet some of Clark's closest allies have been? I'm talking about teammates like Lexi Hull, Kate Martin, and even her boyfriend Connor McCaffrey. Their silence speaks volumes, and this is why it seems pretty obvious that Clark herself wants this whole story to end. She doesn't want to be at the center of a cultural controversy. All she's ever wanted to do is play basketball at the highest level possible. When you think about it, that might be the most powerful statement of all. Let's take a quick look at Lexi Brown. If you will, but after playing her twice on the court, Brown had to acknowledge the truth after witnessing Clark score 30 points in their second encounter and then draining back-to-back 30-footers to end the game. The reaction to all of this on social media has been fascinating to watch. People are analyzing every word of Clark's Times article in an attempt to find hidden meanings or problematic undertones, but they're missing the forest for the trees because they're so busy trying to create controversy that they're overlooking the actual impact Clark has had on the sport. Speaking of impact, let's take a moment to discuss the numbers. Caitlin Clark is the real deal, which makes Brown's support particularly interesting. TV ratings were completely destroyed by the attendance records. What's really fascinating about all of this is that the same people who are now criticizing Clark were surprisingly silent when she was breaking all these records. They weren't questioning her impact when she was selling out arenas, and they weren't discussing privilege when she was hitting those logo 3ES and making Sports Center top 10 every night. Let's take a moment to discuss Gil's Arena because it has become a fascinating platform in this whole debate. Gilbert Arenas is an intriguing character who has the ability to be both the smartest and, let's say, the most unpredictable person in the room. His show has evolved into an unexpected platform for candid basketball discussion, and the way they have covered the Clark situation reveals a lot about how the larger basketball community perceives this controversy. Every time Cheryl Swoops appears on Gil's Arena, it creates waves. The clips go viral, the debates heat up, and people start taking sides, but here's what's interesting, even in these heated discussions, even when opinions differ, there's this underlying respect for what Clark has accomplished. The disagreements aren't about whether she's talented, they're about everything else surrounding her success. Now let's address something that's been bubbling under the surface of this whole controversy, the question of activism in sports. Some people seem to think that athletes need to pick a side on every social issue that comes up, but here's the thing, they don't, and that's exactly what Gabby Thomas was getting at in her defense of Clark. Athletes should have the freedom to choose their battles. If someone wants to be an activist like Natasha Cloud, great. If they want to focus solely on their game, that's fine too. If they want to support Trump like Sophie Cunningham or endorse KLA Harris, that's their prerogative. The point is, we shouldn't be forcing athletes into boxes or demanding they take stands on issues they might not want to engage with. The way Clark has handled this whole situation actually tells us a lot about her character. Instead of firing back at her critics or getting drawn into Twitter wars, she's stayed focused on her game. She's letting her basketball do the talking, and if you ask me, it's speaking volumes. Remember when Clark dropped those back-to-back 30-footers against Brown's team? That wasn't just a highlight reel moment, that was a statement. That was Clark saying, this is who I am, this is what I do. No words needed, no tweets required, just pure undeniable skill on display. And let's talk about that skill for a minute, because in all this debate about race and recognition and who deserves what, we sometimes lose sight of just how extraordinarily talented Clark is. We're talking about someone who can pull up from the logo with the same confidence that most players have shooting free throws. Someone who these passing lanes that most people wouldn't even imagine exist. Someone who's not just playing the game, she's reinventing it. The influence she's having on the next generation is incredible. You go to any girls' basketball game now, and you'll see kids trying to shoot from way downtown attempting no-look passes, playing with a kind of freedom and joy that Clark has helped normalize. That's impact you can't measure in ratings or ticket sales. But here's where the conversation gets really interesting. Some critics have claimed that Clark's success somehow lessens the accomplishments of those who came before her, but this couldn't be further from the truth. When Clark pays tribute to the pioneers of women's basketball, she does so because she recognizes that she is a part of a legacy that dates back decades, not out of obligation or political correctness. Consider the players who created the WNBA from the ground up, those who played in partially empty arenas, those who worked second jobs to make ends meet, and those who battled for any recognition they received. Clark's success does not lessen their achievements, rather, it confirms them. She is evidence that their sacrifices were worthwhile, and that the foundation they established is robust enough to sustain the next generation. Let's be honest about something else. The timing of all this controversy is no coincidence. With Clark set to join the WNBA, some people seem almost desperate to stir up controversy. Perhaps they are trying to further their own agendas, or perhaps they simply can't handle the idea that someone can be successful, talented, and respectful of those who came before them. The truth is that Clark's influence on women's basketball will be felt for years to come, not only because of her extraordinary abilities and record-breaking performances, but also because she is proving that you can respect the past while pushing the boundaries of what is possible in the present. People like Lexi Brown are the popularity of programs like Gil's Arena demonstrates that there is a need for genuine, uncensored conversation about basketball, including women's basketball. Speaking of the media, let's examine how this entire situation has been reported. It's much more complicated than that. It's about generational change, the development of women's sports, the intersection of talent and opportunity, and the timing of the support Clark has received from legends like Chris Evert and Gabby. Some outlets have attempted to portray it as a straightforward black and white issue. Thomas is important because these individuals know what it's like to receive criticism and what it is to be at the top of their game. When Thomas supports Clark's right to acknowledge those who came before her while still owning her own accomplishment, M must cope with expectations to bear the weight of other people's projections and prejudices. Speaking from personal experience, she recognizes that excellence and gratitude are not mutually exclusive. You can be appreciative of the path others have cleared while still blazing your own trail. What's especially noteworthy about all of this is how it reflects larger discussions taking place in sports and society. As we wrap up, it's important to note that this is probably not the last controversy surrounding Clark when you're as talented and visible as she is. The question of who gets to succeed and on what terms is not unique to basketball, but basketball, and especially women's basketball, seems to be where these conversations are playing out most visibly right now. It's amazing that Clark has managed to maintain her focus through all of this while social media debates rage and hot takes multiply. She's still out there playing basketball at a very high level, inspiring young players and advancing the game. Criticism is inevitable, but if this crisis has taught us anything, it's that she has surprising backing from tennis legends, Olympic athletes, longtime skeptics, and media figures. The future of women's basketball is brighter because of players like Caitlin Clark, not because she's flawless or says all the right things, but because she plays with joy, acknowledges those who came before her, and helps to grow the game in ways that benefit everyone involved. Whether certain WNBA figures want to acknowledge it or not, Clark's impact is undeniable, and with defenders like Chris Evert and Gabby Thomas in her corner, it's clear that her influence extends far beyond the basketball court. What do you think about all of it? Do you support Clark?